were entitled with God, I am ready to grow. Feeling bored or stuck in place is a sure sign it's time to try new things. Stretch myself into new experiences and grow. Sometimes I might believe that life just isn't that interesting or that my adventures and fun experiences are behind me. But life is what I make of it, and more of myself I invest, the more interesting my life becomes. I am ready to grow. I listen to the call of my heart and follow the promptings of spirit about where to go and what to try. Feelings of hesitation fade when I heed my guidance, the whisper of the Christ within. Life is for living, loving, and exploring. With spirit, I am ready. Wherever I go and however I go and grow with God. So, a lot of times, if you've been here regularly, you have your favorite speaker. Yes, I noticed those things. So I'm just asking, and if there's anybody here that feels comfortable, you like your seat. Anything we need to do for you to make it more comfortable? Temperature's okay. There I am. You just turn it up a little bit. Oh, you're on free. Yeah. We call that place our comfort zone. Actually, I'm going to ask you not to come around with a microphone. Who wants to help us understand what you think a comfort zone is? Raise your hand if you got a comfort zone to talk about. What is a comfort zone? Okay, thank you, Lisa and Christina.
Hi, so for me, it's being around people that I know.
Okay.
So being around people I don't know is not a comfort.
Good to know. Christina. Yep.
Hi. Being around in the comfort zone for me is like being able to function on automatic.
On automatic.
I don't have to think about anything.
Just comes easy, doesn't it? Anybody else? Margie has one over here, and Carol, and then Dot. Margie, raise your hand. Here you go.
Being in my comfort zone means I feel safe.
Okay, very true, very true. Here's Carol up in the front. Carol, raise your hand. Thank you.
For me, it feels at peace, and that I can relax and just breathe and take in everything around me, even the people, the places, the whole environment I'm in.
Okay, good. And Dot.
I do spend a lot of time with other people, and I enjoy being with other people, but I tend to be an introvert, so sometimes my comfort zone is being by myself.
Okay, good to know. And Cindy's got one in the back row.
Usually, my comfort zone is where I can breathe and feel relaxed, but sometimes I slip into the evil Cindy. And that's kind of a comfort zone from my past that I can be oblivious to, especially around the people involved.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Knox. So the comfort zone, we all have our own, you can probably just define it for yourself fairly easily. That term was actually coined by a woman by the name of Judith Barwick. That's what she said about it up here on the screen. The comfort zone is a behavioral state within which a person operates in an anxiety-neutral condition using a limited set of behaviors to deliver a steady level of performance, usually without a sense of risk. That sounds true to you? Just take a look at that. It's kind of a heady description. But when you read that, it kind of indicates that it's a place where your basic needs are being met, right? It's a place where things are easy and predictable and you're assured success. What do you think is missing in the comfort zone? Challenges. Excitement. Opportunity. You're going to say that too, Margie? Failure is missing in the comfort zone. Well, yes, that's true. Confrontation is missing in the comfort zone. Growth. Lessons are missing in the comfort zone. Risk is missing. Fear. What is over here? Creativity. Yeah, I'm going to land on Cindy here. Creativity idea. So when we're in the comfort zone, we are resisting growth. That means that we keep doing what we've been doing before. We don't want to step into the unknown because that can be kind of scary, right? We don't want to take risks because we don't know what might possibly happen to us. And how many of you know that when you try something new, it takes some work? It takes some effort to learn how to do it. And the problem with this is that we can't expand in the comfort zone. So instead, sometimes you got there because you did step out beyond your comfort zone and you failed. And failure is not an option for human beings, right? So we back into the comfort zone to avoid that happening again. Or some of us just never step out of it because we're not sure what might happen and we're not willing to take that risk. We are basically keeping our soul from progressing in the comfort zone. And that's one of the big points I want us to hear today, that when we live in the comfort zone, we're keeping our soul from progressing. There's a woman, Stanford psychologist, her name is Carol Dweck, and we're going to listen to a video of hers here in a second, but this is someone who researched students, probably mostly in high school, and she discovered that they had two different points of view. She called it the fixed mindset or the growth mindset. So let's listen to the video and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. Carol Dweck.
The power of yet. I heard about a high school in Chicago where students had to pass a certain number of courses to graduate, and if they didn't pass the course, they got the grade not yet. And I thought that was fantastic, because if you get a failing grade, you think, I'm nothing, I'm nowhere. But if you get the grade not yet, you understand that you're on a learning curve. It gives you a path into the future. Not yet also gave me insight into a critical event early in my career, a real turning point. I wanted to see how children coped with challenge and difficulty. So I gave 10-year-olds problems that were slightly too hard for them. Some of them reacted in a shockingly positive way. They said things like, I love a challenge, or, you know, I was hoping this would be informative. They understood that their abilities could be developed. They had what I call a growth mindset. But other students felt it was tragic, catastrophic. From their more fixed mindset perspective, their intelligence had been up for judgment, and they failed.
How many times have we thought failure is not enough? So I'm just trying to put myself in that situation. These kids were being forced in that situation. So fixed mindset or growth mindset. When she and others were studying kids with this idea of not yet, I mean, how many of your kids or you came home with a report card that said not yet? Anybody, nobody. Okay, so not yet is saying that you're at a starting point and there's still room to grow. Whereas an F on your report card basically says, this is not in you, this is not for you. Go some other way, you're not able to handle it. Well, when she was able to work with these students, they were chronically underperforming. I mean, like entire schools in states can be chronic underperformers. And so they went to these kinds of locations and worked with them in this system of not yet. And instead of emphasizing grades, they helped them see that effort mattered, that their willingness to use their own process, not necessarily the standard process, to get to the solution mattered, that persevering and not giving up mattered more than grades. You know what happened to these students? They started shooting to the top of the ladder. Entire schools were ranking number one in their district, or achieving the number one scores on the state math test, or ranked in the 95 percentile of the national achievement test. That's what changed for them. was letting them know that there was room to grow and they had it in them. They had it in them. We all have it in us, room to grow. So we're starting message series this week from the Daily Word. When I was at Unity Village, I took advantage of their sweet tarts and said, please give me 60 free copies of the Daily Word. And they gave me 60 free copies of the Daily Word. And they're out in the front room, so make sure you take one before you leave today. And this is for the July-August schedule on the calendar. If you haven't seen it or read it, it looks like this. And every day for 2 months, and then it comes out again, there are words, a single word, and an inspiration written about that word, like you heard Nicole share today. Thank you, Nicole. And also a couple stories inside it. So what I did was I pulled probably a dozen words for the month of August, and I listed them out there on a banner. What I want you to do is take a look at that list if you haven't already. Choose your top 3 words that you want to hear more about. And then we'll fill up August and September. I chose the first 3. Next week's going to be good too, I promise, and it's going to tie into what we're talking about today. Today, our word is grow. And we all have the ability to grow. So it's an opportunity for us now to pay attention, take a breath. What Tony Robbins says up here on the screen, he said, all growth starts at the end of your comfort zone. Gotta get out. Gotta get out of the comfort zone if you want to grow. And remember that the comfort for the ego starts with avoiding failure and not being made fun of or not feeling like you're less than. Outside the comfort zone, you could look bad. You could show that you're not enough. You could appear imperfect. And for many of us, well, at least one of us, imperfect is not an option, right? We're busy working on making sure that we're doing everything right. Well, listen to what Suzanne Houston says about this up here on the screen. There is no perfection, for that would indicate an end state. Let that sink in for a minute. Rather, there is ongoing evolution as well as involution. You can strive all you want for perfection, but you'll never get there, where such a state does not exist. There are simply greater and greater states of being. I firmly believe that at some point, that comfort zone for the ego is going to start feeling uncomfortable. And Jesus was trying to get us to know that. He said it here in the Gospel of Thomas, if you do not bring forth what is within you, what is within you will destroy you. Sounds kind of harsh, but look at it this way. If we hold back on those special qualities of ours or those heart's desires of ours, it will sap the joy right out of our life. And it will just become a drudge. Life will just become a drudge. So at some point, I'd like to think that your comfort zone is going to start to feel tight and uncomfortable. And that's because your higher self is nudging you along a path and giving you some opportunities. It might actually be calling you into, it's like when we find ourselves in a major conflict or a sickness in the body, sometimes, yes, I actually believe that sometimes our higher self is calling us into it for the higher self's sake, for its purpose to grow and evolve. And so you might run into some type of conflict, and you can start by trusting, okay, I'm here because my higher self knows that this is an opportunity for not only my ego to grow, but also my higher self. When I face sickness, I might have an opportunity here to look at this differently. It's a place where we can expand and evolve and move on and become more of our divine self. So we could be pushed by the pain of the comfort zone where it's just feeling too tight, or it's when one of those heart's desires starts to speak to us and say, come on, doesn't this look like fun? And pulls us out of the comfort zone. If you're willing, that's the part that we depend on our ego for, to be willing. So think today of a couple different forms of growth. There's the ego's form of growth and the spirit's form of growth. And I would say that each one of us experiences the ego's form of growth in a zillion different ways. It really is something that depends on our individuality, the things that are a challenge just for me. And I'm going to offer today that we can address growth in those areas by just baby steps. You know, you don't have to learn how to do brain surgery today to save someone's life. Maybe you could just learn how to talk to someone that you've never met before. Take the pressure off. Do something that won't kill you if you make a mistake or kill somebody else. And let your lower self start to learn what it means to grow and take chances and be a little bit more than what you've been before. And it might be an opportunity for you to grow a talent, something that you know you just happen to have a gift for, but you've never really given it much attention. Now might be the time to look more closely at it, to give it some more practice, to give it an opportunity to express itself out in the world. Maybe it's an opportunity to change a career path. I know that's a big step for most of us, but is that what your heart's calling you to? Maybe you could just like research some jobs in that area, or think about going back to school in that area. Maybe go on some job interviews in that area. Just see what it's all about. Same simple little steps. Alex Honnold described it this way. My comfort zone is like a little bubble around me, and I pushed it in different directions and made it bigger and bigger until these objectives that seem totally crazy eventually fall within the realm of the possible. You had that happen, right? Where you took a chance, you did something new, and you found out later that piece of cake, I've got this down. I remember when I moved, so raised in Peoria, then married and moved to these teeny tiny towns in Oregon, and then wound up in San Francisco. Wound up with a job where I was working with a partner, and we were visiting clients all over the Bay Area. Somebody who, I was just terrified to have to drive beyond my city limit. And here I was driving city to city to city, and crossing bridges and taking subways. And I remember, the first time I had to go, I had like a million maps and written out directions. That's way before maps was. So you had to really know how to read maps. Yeah, after a year of doing that, I remember driving down the freeway on a warm, sunny California day with my windows open going, I love my life! That's what we can get if we push our comfort zone, a little bit at a time. So that's going to be up to you, depending on where you are on your path, what's calling to you. But there's one thing that calls to all of us, and this is from the spiritual perspective of growth. The spiritual perspective of growth is the same, in my opinion, for all of us. And it starts with the question, why did we come here in the first place? There's so many things that fit into this, but let's start with the idea that even though we feel like there's many of us here, there's really only one, and it's God. It's the omnipresence of God, expressing uniquely in billions of different ways. And that presence of God has a goal and created a universe to fulfill that goal. This is Kitty's opinion, take it or leave it. So that goal is to create an environment that will allow this omnipresence to experience itself in new ways, which it cannot do in the spiritual dimension. But there's nothing pushing against you in the spiritual dimension. So what does it do? It creates this environment, this universe that we live in, that pushes back, that provides sickness, that provides conflict, that creates shortage. Anybody experience any of those? Every time we do, it's an opportunity for our higher self, the Spirit of God, to see what that means. What does it? I mean, when you are in a place of pure bliss and wholeness and life, and suddenly your body is sneezing and bodily fluids are coming out of every orifice, it's too much time. But you're not feeling good. It's like, whoa, this is what it feels like not to be whole, which helps Spirit understand wholeness even more deeply. You see that? When you're in an environment where you're in pure love all the time, we all in Spirit love each other without question, and suddenly this person's not talking to you, or they're talking about you, or they're giving you dirty looks. It's like, oh, this is what it's like not to be loved. I now understand love more deeply. Okay, that's just Kitty's point of view about why we're here. So if we work from that premise, we come here to have these experiences, and growth for the Spirit is about going through these things, going through these difficulties so that we can experience more of ourselves. And Charles Fillmore, who's our co-founder of Unity, said it this way up here on the screen. He said, spiritual evolution is the unfoldment of the Spirit of God
into manifestation, things that we make or create through our consciousness, how we see the world, how we perceive things. So if we come in and we let the ego dominate and we refuse to grow or step out of our comfort zone, spirit can't grow. We're stuck in this place where we're doing the same old, every day. We're talking to the same people. We're eating the same foods. We're taking the same directions to work. And we're avoiding risk at all cost. So what we want to do is take this path to growth that supports spirit first and foremost. I've got 3 steps for you today, and the first one is about knowing thyself. Ancient Greeks put it over their temple. Know thyself. And I'm talking, when I say know thyself, I'm talking about not your lower self, but your higher self. Become self-aware. And the only way we can really get into knowing ourself is to have to put the lower self in the back seat for a while. Be aware of what your lower self is doing. For instance, who's driving your life? Start with that question. Who's driving your life? A lot of times we decide we can't grow because other people have power to drive our life. I can't grow. My boss won't give me that account. I can't grow. I don't have enough money to go to school when I'm still trying to put my kids through school. So it's other people, it's outer circumstances. I can't grow. COVID has totally changed the world, and it's not letting me grow. I can't grow when the stock market is taking a dip or when my interest rates are going up. I can't buy a house. How can I grow if I can't buy a house? And ultimately, the one reason we use for not growing is because our lower self won't let us. The human part of ourself says, I can't grow if it means that I might get hurt, that I might go without. It's all about me, self-focused. And it's this, seeking an experience that only provides pleasure to our 5 physical senses. But we have another option, that instead of blaming or using outer experiences or other people or the ego to keep us from growing, we can turn towards the higher self within us. That's how we truly grow. And that higher self within us is always going to work from love. It's always going to want the highest good for everybody involved. And when we live from the higher self first, we have access to infinite potential. All things possible. Jesus tried to demonstrate that and encourage people to reach for that and told them that they would be doing the things he was doing if they were willing to let that higher self grow. And the way that we get to know thyself, thy higher self, is to speak the truth about that self. So I've got a lot of things to speak about today that I want you to say with me, because we're always trying to change the consciousness within us. We're trying to renew the mind. So let's say these together up here on the screen. First of all, ready? There we go. Are we there? Oh, sorry. I skipped one. Keep going, Parker. Keep going. Yeah, that too. Let the same mind be in you that was in Jesus Christ. You can do that, right? Next. All right. It all's getting to the same place, promise. All right, so let's say these together. The only presence in this universe and beyond is God the good. Okay, this is going to build on each other, so pay attention. Next one. The only power working in my life is the all-loving goodness of God. And next, the only source of my supply is God, my instant, constant, abundant good. And the only mind is divine mind. My hesitation fades when I heed guidance from the mind of God within. So in that case, next, together, I live, move, and have my being in and as this presence, this power, this source, and this mind. In God, all things are possible. One more. I am an expression of the one presence. I am spirit. I am eternal. I am unlimited. How's that feel? I can do anything, right? Growth is possible when I know myself. Know your higher self. When you know your higher self, your whole view of life will change. Your view of sickness will change because you'll remember that the energy in your body is not just cells, but divine life and divine intelligence guiding those cells. I grow in health. This is a statement you might want to just hang on to. I grow in health as I know my true self. And we will look at shortage completely differently when we know that our higher self within us is the infinite supply that provides every need. So I grow in wealth as I know myself. And when it comes time to make decisions every day, it's about remembering that the divine mind of God within us can guide those choices. And I will grow in wisdom when I know myself, when I know that higher true self of who I'm being. So that's the first step on the path, to know thyself as spirit. And then secondly, control thyself as ego. Let spirit control the ego. That means putting that higher self in charge. So yes, ego regularly believes it knows best. And it's constantly working from the motive, what's in it for me? What can you do for me? What can you give for me? What can you say that sounds like me? Make sure that you're agreeing with me. Make sure that you're thinking like me, that you're making my life better. Sorry, but that's pretty much the whole focus of the ego. That's ego doing its thing, making sure that it's protected. But sadly, it's limiting. There is no room for growth when we're letting ego lead the way. So we're trying to control that ego. Abraham Maslow created this hierarchy of needs. Anybody heard of that? Yes. Okay. So basically describes the needs from lower to higher as a human being. Basically, is there air? Is there water? Do I have food? And then am I safe? And then am my emotional needs being met? And ultimately at the very top, they call it self-actualization. And this is not about the ego championing itself. Self-actualization is about allowing the higher self to come through. That's what we're working for. We're controlling the lower self and letting the higher self come true. And I love what Lao Tzu says. He was the founder of the Tao. He said that he who controls others may be powerful, but he who has mastered himself is mightier still. Think of that. If I can get a handle on my lower self, I am more powerful than if I'm the CEO of a company or the president of a country. Get a master over yourself. So we grow when we're controlling the lower self and letting love be our motive. Choose loving and lifting as your motive when you relate to others. It's something, just words that popped into my head. I'm sure Spirit was on my side that day. How much of myself do I want to rat on? So anyone, okay, help me out. Misery loves company. Anybody here struggle with being impatient? Okay, this is for you. You can get on my team. It's easy when we're impatient to walk in the door as the ego and start demanding things. Even if you don't do it out loud with physical gestures, there's a part of you inside going, why are you so slow? Why are you doing this wrong? I got an Egg McMuffin today for breakfast. And I went inside the building, which I've learned is not always a good thing, but I went inside the building and there was somebody new being trained. So I remembered my new mantra. I'm here not to get my Egg McMuffin. I am here to love and to lift. It works every time. I'm not here to get this done in 2 minutes so I can get out the door and get over to Unity so I can help those people. Come on. I am here to love and to lift. And as soon as I remember that, the first thing that happens is I smile at the person. As soon as they see you smiling, they smile. And everything gets easier from there. That's what we mean by controlling the lower self. Putting it in the back seat, letting the higher self come through first. To love and to lift. That's not too hard, is it? Okay, so know thyself, control thyself, and the third is to grow yourself by giving yourself away. We sang that song today. Rise, rise, people of love, rise, give yourself away. Remember that just a few minutes ago? Okay, well, there's a reason for that. That's the way that spirit grows, giving itself away. Every time we make an opportunity for our higher self to support a community, to share our talents, to be a good resource or a steward of our sources, our resources. Wow, those words don't want to come together. But it's an opportunity for the higher self to grow, to serve. Every time you can use the word serve, how may I serve? How may I support you? Those are words that will absolutely instigate growth. Just try them out and see how they go. There's somebody, I ran across a story about somebody this week. I get that Good News Network online. It's like a daily or weekly e-news about good news. So there's a picture of Callie Clements up here on the screen. All of last weekend, Callie Clements was crawling in and out of storm drains and manhole covers in the Houston heat, searching for abandoned puppies. Saying the area is infamous for puppy dumping, as she refers to it grimly, she won't rest until all 3 of the black Labrador Terrier mutts are located. Clemens received a call from a concerned citizen a few days before that 3 stray puppies had fallen down a storm drain in the neighborhood of Spring Branch. By Friday, Clemens, a dedicated group of volunteers, and her own dog Giselle had found 2 of the abandoned puppies, and she was already going back down on Saturday night to find the last one. There's no way the puppy can get out by itself, so it's up to us, she said, and I have no shame to go down and get it. Clemens says in her 7 years of rescuing animals, she's never lost one. That probably required some growth on her part to say yes to a storm drain. And maybe you're not there yet. Maybe your growth isn't going to help you get into a storm drain, but it might help you stand outside the opening of the storm drain and pull her out when it's time, or have some water for her, or take the puppy and find a home for it. That's when the human growth starts to, kick in differently for each one of us. But ultimately, giving yourself away is when your higher self really gets to shine. And that's why higher self comes here, to give itself away. So keep this in mind, that when you are called to grow, you are never called to grow without also being given the ability, the qualities, the resources within you to actually do the growth. Trust that. Trust that. Start paying more attention to who's driving your life, and know who could be driving your life. So when you are in the drive-through lane and it's slowing way down and you finally get up to the window, you could say, "What the hell is going on back there?" I've never done that, promise me. But instead, it could be an opportunity. I said hell in church. Yes, your minister said hell, so might have to pull that out of the recording. Are you okay with that? All right. And the option is, "Hi, how's your day going? I'm so excited you're working today because I really need this." That's probably for the people in the Starbucks line. "I really need this. Thanks for working today." They're right next door. I see how long that, okay, I'm off track. All right, so basically we're working at growing, knowing yourself as spirit, growing or controlling your lower self, and growing yourself by giving yourself away. A lot of times people let the "I don't know how" get in the way. So up here from Corinthians 16, this is what Paul said to do: "Let all that you do be done in love." Simple enough, right? Your ego may not think so. But remember, you're going not for a win-lose, but a win-win. And that's always possible because it's all God and there's only good. When we talked about no need to strive for perfection, I ran across another quote I'll just share as we close with Esther Hicks, not on the screen. You're never going to get to any final place. You're never going to get to any final place. So relax and start having fun on the way. Can growth be fun? Only if you decide it is. You're in charge. You get to choose. So let's take some of this into meditation and see what we can bring forth. Why don't you do that? Why don't you just take a deep breath and let it out? We're just telling our body and our mind and our ego that it's safe to relax now. And just notice, who's the loudest voice in me right now? If my feelings are uncomfortable right now, it just means that my ego is in charge. So check in and see how you're feeling emotionally. And in this moment, I remember that more than ego in a body, I am spirit. I live in this body. It is my vehicle. Ego is my companion. Ego is here to be trained by me. I am spirit. The everywhere present nature of God is expressing as me. The divine life of God that empowers this physical body I live in is always present. At this very moment, the divine life is empowering every cell of my body. I am not my body. I am not any weakness in the body. I am the life of God in this body. Even if at this moment, this home that I live in is feeling weak, I am still and always the presence of divine life. And the divine intelligence guides these cells to their natural well-being. I am spirit. I am life. The infinite substance of God that fills this universe is not only my source of good. I am that infinite substance of God. As this spiritual substance, I manifest my heart's desires. God expressing in and through me is my instant, constant, abundant supply. I grow beyond shortage, where there is always enough when I allow God to live as me. I grow in love as I open my heart to the presence of love all around me, always working for my good. I am the presence of love, seeking to support the highest good of everyone involved in my life. I grow beyond selfishness, and I rise to give myself away. It is not I, the ego, but the great I am of love that shines through me. As I leave this room today, I allow this day to bring opportunities for growth, trusting that the Spirit I am has the power, is the presence, provides the guidance that allows the highest part of myself to shine, not just for self, but for all, for the one. This is the truth of who I am. Now I let it be. Amen.